Hello everyone and welcome. Make a cup of your favorite drink and get comfortable because this is a wonderful time for new stories from Yellowcat. Send your own stories in the comments below and maybe they'll be in our new video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed yet. Let's get started. Redditors, tell me the story of why you abruptly left your job, part 2. They didn't care about the people who worked at JCPenney Salon where I used to work. We got a new manager not long ago. It was clear she didn't care about her job because she was always taking time off to travel with a rich pilot boyfriend. I was trained to take over for the manager who came before her, but when it came time, I said no because I knew the company was in bad shape. In any case, I was seen as the boss when she wasn't there. Everyone thought I was the boss even when she was there because she would lock herself in the office and not come out to help anyone. Even so, she didn't like that the team came to me for things instead of her. Around 6 months after she was hired, I quit on the spot. Someone I work with and am close with learned that her mom has pancreatic cancer. Her mom died not even 3 weeks after that. The service for her mother was set for a Saturday, and my friend asked everyone who was going to wear blue in honor of her mom who loved that color. Just by chance, we were able to wear any color that weekend. Our normal dress code was all black because we had surpassed our sales goal the week before. I sent a text message to my coworkers telling them to all wear blue to service to show strength for our friend. I also texted the manager, but she didn't answer. That Friday, I bought everything blue I could find. There were beads, hair bows, bracelets, and other accessories in case someone forgot to wear blue or didn't have any blue clothes. The next Saturday, I went to work and brought all the blue stuff to the back room to hand it out. When I got to work, the boss was out to lunch. We posed for pictures in our blue clothes in the back room away from the clients. The manager came back from lunch 10 minutes before my first client came in. I saw right away that she was wearing nothing but black, not a single blue dot. To avoid making a scene, I asked her if she would like a blue necklace. She got angry right away and told me that my behavior was wrong and that I should have asked her permission before I communicated with the team, which meant my friends and coworkers who I had known for more than 5 years. She told me off in front of my coworkers and clients at the salon. She was acting like I told everyone to break the dress code without her permission, which shocked me. I reminded her that we could wear any color we wanted. She told me that it didn't matter what color we wore and that I shouldn't talk to the team about anything without first asking her. This was never the company's policy or a rule. I was furious at that point. They made fun of me for going out of my way to help a friend, but I did it anyway. My client had just checked in, so I didn't want to change her plans at the last minute. I left as soon as I was done with her hair. When I got home, I sent all the pictures we took to my friend. She told me how much it meant to her that we were there for her. It was all worth it. It made me think, so I told my husband about it. He told me he would support whatever choice I made. Together with another coworker, we made the most money at the salon. The next day, we showed up with boxes. We got our stuff together and left. The boss then had the nerve to tell us we couldn't quit on a Sunday and that we had to work during the week to get paid. I laughed right at her. She called her HR person to let them know what was going on. They came down so quickly, and all of a sudden, she changed her mind and told us they'd have a check out to us in 24 hours. I made the best choice ever when I left that place. I've never felt so good. A month after I left, she was fired. I quit a lot of jobs, but the one that stands out in my mind was when I worked at Topper's Pizza, which was owned by 2 older men. One barely showed up, and the other was always there at the end of the day to count the money. I worked there for a long time. Based on the size and number of toppings, it would take me 3 to 6 minutes to cook a pizza from start to finish. I pressed the dough to make it easier to stretch over these round screens. I docked them, which meant that I rolled these plastic rollers with pegs on them over the dough. This kept the dough from rising in the oven. Correctly weighed the cheese. The topping should be put in these ceramic sauce pots that come in different sizes. The job was very simple, but I was able to do it twice as fast and twice as well as most people. I did mess up a few times, but I fixed them. Also took care of the money and cleaned a lot. We had 2 assistant managers during that time. One time I wasn't working and the second assistant manager lost their temper and got mad at the staff. They tried to call me in, but I told them I had already scheduled time off. The next day I came in and the assistant manager talked to me. He said it was my fault that they lost their cool. Man, fake smoke. You needed to be there. There was no one there to calm me down, so I lost it. I was 18 years old at the time and he was in his 40s. I told him I wasn't going to be his babysitter in the end. After that day, everyone I worked with said I was a great worker and they enjoyed working with me. That was nice. But that wasn't the worst of it though. Some days when I was on till, the money never added up no matter how hard I tried to fix my count. I asked the coworker who was always there why my count was always wrong because it never added up, but he could always figure it out. He never showed me that it was okay and that he'd take care of it. After a week, he pulled me behind him and said something like, "I caught you stealing," or "I know you're stealing." I told him that couldn't happen because only he has access to the money after work, and security cameras were keeping a close eye on the cash registers, the entrances and exits, and the office where the money's kept. If he let me go back to work, I'd forget about it. Then he said he could find someone to take my place. I laughed and told her she had 2 weeks to find someone. I came in for my last shifts and finished. I got hired right away by McDonald's and worked there for 2 to 3 years, getting promoted all the way to team lead before leaving. Another worker or boss at the pizza place told me that he never did find someone to replace me and that things were getting worse there. People were less motivated to work and the good ones quit after I did. They lost, and after that, they never hired another assistant manager. The general manager was tense. The regulars stopped coming because the pizza was always made wrong and the supervisors kept switching. Also, closings took an hour longer than they should have, not 10. I went back to look at it again and saw that it was a mess. The places I tried to keep clean were really dirty and no one seemed to care. The manager noticed me and asked if I wanted to go back, to which I asked if the assistant manager position was open, but I was declined by the owner to go back. Which tale about insane homeowners associations do you have? Part 2. Even living in a neighborhood without an HOA will not stop people thinking they can tell you what you can and can't do at your own home. It began about a week after we moved in and went on the whole time my mom lived there. At first, we had to call the police every day to our house. Someone called and said we were abusing our dogs because we were leaving them out in the rain without food or shelter. That's why they came. They came into my backyard and saw lots of food and a big doghouse. The police officer told me it wasn't my fault if they weren't smart enough to go into the doghouse when it rained, since they loved playing in the rain. Then they were called because of noise complaints about loud radios and other things, even when our power was out because of repairs. Then they were called because someone said our cars were taking up space at the curb in front of other people's houses, even though my brother's truck was the only car at the curb and it was parked at our house. The person who called said it hadn't run in months because it had been sitting there. We had to show them that it worked fine, and he said it was gone almost every day when he went to work. One of the officers, who had been there many times, also said they had seen the truck move around, not just sit there for months on end. The police said they wouldn't call us again unless it was an emergency, and they put the caller on a list of people who should not be called. Sure enough, the police stopped coming to our house after that, but then the code enforcer started coming. He also didn't find anything to cite us for, but he did say that someone kept calling and he would have to look into it every time. He apologized for the trouble this caused. Things like this kept going on and on. We moved in at the end of September 2001, and it was still going on when my mom moved in after she retired in 2016. The house was turned into a rental and we sold it to someone we know. That person is still calling anyone who moves into that house, we've been told. It's been hard for him to keep renters. 2 trees in our yard were being cut down because their roots were getting out of hand and hurting our foundation. By HOA rules, you have to get a new tree, which is fine. We wanted to with a tree that wasn't so mean. We needed permission, but we kept getting turned down. We thought it was strange. If I asked them to explain, they said I needed 2 trees and they have to be hardwood. There is nothing in the HOA agreement that says you have to have any trees. It says on mine that only one tree is best. I wrote again saying that we were going to replace it with a Texas rebud, which is a hardwood tree, but they still said no. Because of this, I had to go to one of their monthly meetings at the nearby clubhouse to protest their choice. After I made my case, the hardwood tree argument came up. Well, we used to have pine trees, which are softwood, so OP1, HOA 0. Then we got into a fight about the number of trees and told them that it didn't say anywhere that 2 trees or any trees were needed. In response, they said that trees are needed. I showed them pictures of houses in the areas that didn't have any trees. After the first picture, they stopped me and agreed to what we asked. OP2, HOA 0. It was so much work to give our house a long overdue makeover. Not me, my high school chemistry teacher. She lived in a really nice neighborhood, HOA back in the 90s when I had never even heard of them before. The roofs of all the houses were made of wood. I don't remember how much it cost her and her husband, but it was around the $10K mark, but they paid to have the wooden shingles removed and replaced with composite shingles that looked just like wood but were even more expensive. The HOA said no. They had to take off the composite shingles and put wood shingles back on the roof, about $6K more. After less than 3 months, there was a fire in the neighborhood that the fire department still talks about. It was called out to every station in the city. Since those wood shingle roofs were so easy to catch fire, they didn't even try to save houses that were already on fire. Instead, they surrounded the fire with a block and put out the fires outside the block. It was a total loss for 8 homes, including my teachers. She had a terrible nervous breakdown in the end, and we got a new teacher in the middle of the semester. I've made a list of things that I want in a house. There is no HOA on it 3 times. That can't be changed. You never know what'll happen, even if you get a sane one now. When the board changed, my aunt had lived in a house for 15 years. Suddenly, they have to get rid of their mailbox because all mailboxes have to match. They also had to redo their landscaping and cut down some trees. Oh, and now that you've cut down the trees, your boat trailer looks bad, so you'll have to get rid of it too. Here's your fine for the holes in your yard caused by cutting down the tree. She sold everything, packed, and moved to her boat. My HOA collects quarterly dues to the tune of about $85 per household. It's not much, I understand, but they manage my neighborhood and 2 others close by. That means they're making a good amount of money. Even more so when you think about how all they do with the money is mow most of the grassy areas in the community. Most of the time, they mow from the front door of the neighborhood to about 3 houses down the road. They don't mow the back fences of other houses that line the road that connects all the neighborhoods. People don't pay attention to my house. Not only that, but this is all they do. No speed bumps, guards at the entrance, parks, pools, or other things like that. Rules about things like weeds, grass height, trash can pickup, etc. are not enforced. I worked hard to take care of my lawn when I first moved in, and now it's lush and green. But because they don't care for the grass behind my fence, weeds have grown through it and taken over my backyard. I was tired of paying them money and not getting anything in return, so I've tried talking to them, meeting with them in person, and other things. It turns out that I'm not the only one who's mad. So I looked into the HOA bylaws. I realized that they do not do what they should do according to their own bylaws. I informed all the neighbors who were dissatisfied with their actions. We wrote a collective complaint to the city that this HOA does not fulfill its duties and accordingly take our money for themselves. The complaint was considered and accepted. An investigation was launched. As it turns out, they stole a lot of money from us. A criminal case was opened against the members of the board. Some of them paid a huge fine, but the one who was the head of the entire criminal association went to jail. Fortunately, a new board was elected, and this time they're doing everything that an HOA should do. Life in our neighborhood is much better now. If you want to watch the part 1, click the link here. We're very, very glad to see you all in the comments again. Many, many thanks for your support.